Is my necklace killing anybody else? Because it's uneven and I can't figure out in the camera how to make it even. Sorry guys, if you have OCD, I understand, bear with me. Anyway. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Happy Friday. Unfortunately, I have some really heavy, awful news to share and a topic for you guys and a lesson for you guys to take out of this topic. So the title of this video, unfortunately, was not clickbait. Every prisoner's worst fear happened, unfortunately, to this man. And you would think dying in prison would be the worst thing that could possibly happen to a prisoner, but I have to disagree. The worst thing that I believe, and I will confirm with my husband, but I can almost guarantee, the worst thing that I believe that could happen to somebody while they're inside is to lose a family member. Not only one family member, but to lose multiple family members, especially at the same time. So yesterday, over the weekend, I got an email from Adam, and he had written it, I think it was like Saturday afternoon, and it said, last night, I got the most horrific news. He said it was right before lockdown. So lockdown is at 9:30, and then they're locked into their cells until they open the doors at 5:30 or 6 o'clock the next morning. They don't have access to any phones or computers or anything when they're locked in their cells. So he said he got this news right before bed. He literally was sick to his stomach. He physically almost vomited when he heard this news. It was so tragic and horrible. He said it was so bad that he had to just put it out of his head until the next day when he can confirm that it was actually the truth. So the next day he went to lunch and he saw one of the guys who he's friendly with who confirmed that this news was true. And he said he felt that nauseous, stomach sinking feeling, wanting to throw up feeling all over again. What happened was this man's family, this inmate that he's friendly with, his mother, his wife, and his 2 children were traveling about 4 hours to visit him, and they were all killed in a car accident. And let me tell you why that's every inmate's worst fear. That's every inmate's worst fear because there is so much guilt associated with leaving their families behind because they did something wrong, and now their family, their wife, their children, their parents, everybody they love is outside suffering. That is so horrific for them. So I believe that they would rather lose their life than hear that one of their loved ones not only lost their life, period, lost their life on their way to visit them. I know that when I travel 6 hours to visit, Adam is on eggshells the whole day until he either gets an email from me or he'll call me when I get into town to make sure that I made it there safely, because they're waiting just to make sure that everything was safe, there was no trouble on the road, there were no accidents, God forbid, or anything like that. So here's a lesson that I want to pass along to you, and I really need you to hear this. Let's start with a little bit of a story time. So back about 5 or 6 years ago, I was working for this girl who was a lot younger than me. We became really friendly, so we started working out together. She was also my boss, but we became friends. And I confided in her about my relationship, that my husband was in jail, etc. And so she knew this. And a couple months after I told her, she was pretty supportive. She never looked down her nose at me. She never judged me. She always asked me how he was doing. She was really sweet about it. So we were talking one day and she said, "Oh, are you going to visit Adam this weekend?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Well, when's the next time you're going?" And I said, "Well, actually, I take off for the winter because I have to drive from New Jersey through the mountains of Pennsylvania all the way to the most northwest point in the mountains, in the Allegheny Mountains, that you can get in Pennsylvania. So in the winter, it's super dangerous. They get a lot of snow there. There's a lot of ice on the roads, and there's no guardrails. Once you get past a certain point on the highway, there's no guardrails on the side of the highway, and there's cliffs on either side because you're driving in the mountains. And the very first time I had visited McKean, where Adam lives now, in this facility in northwestern Pennsylvania, I was just making small talk with one of the girls on the way out, and she said something about driving there in the winter, and she goes, "Oh, honey," she said, "I'm coming from Cleveland. I know how to drive in snow." She said, "In my first year that I was visiting here, I was driving down Route 80, which is, I come down Route 80 the other way, but she said, I was driving down Route 80 and I saw cars flipped on the side of the road. The snow was so bad." She said, "I was going 2 miles an hour. I wanted to quit." And she goes, "By the grace of God, I made it here." So from that day forward, I decided that I wasn't going to visit Adam during the winter months. It sucks. And I had people say, "Well, then how do you nurture your relationship? What do you guys do in the winter? You know, if you can get there and you're not going, that's wrong of you," etc. But I would rather skip 3 months in the winter and miss those visits than him never having a visit again, because I immaturely decide to put my life at risk and go to visit when it's inclement weather. And this wasn't inclement weather. I have no idea what happened with those people. I have no idea with the accident or whatnot. I don't know if it was a car issue. I don't know what happened. But what I'm saying is, we all need to learn from this tragedy. A lot of women put ourselves out there because either one, they're in a controlling relationship and they fear that if they don't show up to every single visit that he's going to get mad, he's going to scream at her, he's going to yell at her, he's going to leave her. Or, I don't know if it's better or worse, I think it's probably even as far as how terrible this is, they're so insecure, they feel that if they don't show up to every single visit, then somebody else will visit him. And they don't trust him, so they think, I will be there every single time, because if somebody else shows up, I'm gonna know. And that's a way for you to try to control him back, or for you to try to control him, period. So I made a video about this not too long ago in the winter when one of the girls was trying to put her life at risk driving through a horrible storm. They were actually evacuating the town and she was trying to get to visit instead of getting herself to safety. And I have to tell you guys, nobody is worth putting your life at risk. You need to learn how to value your life more than to put yourself in those dangerous situations. So I need you guys to put the phones away when you're driving to visit. It is so tempting, especially on those long rides, to check your phone, to be texting, to take pictures. Oh, it's really quick. I need you to put your phones away. That is one thing that I promised Adam. When I am on the road, my phone is in the console and I do not open the console back up until I am parked at a rest stop or I'm where I'm supposed to be. Please, guys, put your phones away. If you're tired, pull over. I had a situation where I made a vlog about it. I think it's in the how much I spend to go to prison visit blog, and I'll put it up there somewhere in the cards. But I was driving back in the middle of a winter in a snowstorm, in an ice/snowstorm. And I had made it about 2 hours away from home. And my GPS was saying I still had 4 hours. And that's if I was driving the normal speed limit, which I wasn't. I was driving probably 20 miles an hour. And ice was accumulating on my windshield probably this thick. And I couldn't put the defrost on it because then the windows would fog. So either way, I couldn't see out of my windshield. So at a certain point, I pulled over and I pulled into a Wendy's. And in the Wendy's, I scraped my windshield. I went to the bathroom. I said, I'm going to find a hotel as soon as I can find one. And I look up across the street and there is a CD Econo Lodge. And we'll talk about keeping yourself safe on the road anyway, you know, what I looked for in the parking lot and what I looked for in the people around there to ensure that I was as safe as possible in this town that I didn't know where I was. And I didn't know what the town was like. It was literally just a kind of truck stop, hotel, motel off of the highway. But I decided to pull over to wait for the storm to pass because they were supposed to get the storm as I was getting home. So I was literally driving in this storm. It was moving across the mountain with me. I was stuck. So I got a hotel room. It was an added expense. It was $66, but those are the times you pull out the credit card. Your life is worth the $66, guys. Your life is worth the $200 if it's a nicer hotel. So so that's what we're going to do. We're going to pull over. We're going to get hotel rooms. We're going to put our phones away. If the forecast is bad, please don't go. Please don't push through it just because you have to see him and you can't miss a visit. I'm begging you guys. It is so not worth it to risk your life and, God forbid, lose your life for a visit, because if you don't value your life enough to say, I'm not going to do that, I'm not going to put my own self at risk, then I want you to think about it from his perspective. Think about how he will feel if, God forbid, you lose your life on your way to go see him when he already has or she already has so much guilt surrounding leaving you, or if you're MWI or RWI, met while incarcerated, or your relationship rekindled while he was already incarcerated. Guilt for stringing you through this, bringing you into this and stringing you through this. So they all have guilt, no matter how your relationship developed, no matter when you met. Please, please, please value your life enough to not put yourself at risk. And if you can't do that, then I need you to just think about it from his perspective or her perspective. They will never. So that man came down to lunch the following day, because Adam had sent me an email, and he said, if he doesn't come down for lunch, then I will eventually make my way up there so I can give him my condolences and be a shoulder for him, because Adam is very, very, very good at that. He's very respected there. He's very looked up to. He's got his head on straight. So a lot of people go to him, and plus he's a life coach. So a lot of people go to him for that type of stuff. So he didn't have to make his way up there. He saw the guy who came down on lunch. He said the whole entire unit that day, the whole entire unit looks like they were grieving. Because if you think about that, you hear this news while you're inside and you automatically think that could be my wife, those could be my kids, that could be my daughter, that could be my mother. And I can say this, the day I lost my mother was the worst day of my whole entire life. And I've been through some crap. And I've been through some crap through prison visits. And you guys stick with me, and you make sure you subscribe if you're new here. I've got some stories to share with you. But I've been through some stuff. And that, in all of the depressing, emotional crap that I've been through, that was the worst day of my life. And the only people I wanted around me, aside from my husband who couldn't be around me, was my family. Not only could this man who just lost all these people be around his family, he doesn't have a family anymore. He just lost his whole family in one shot. I can't even imagine how intensified that feeling that I felt the day I lost my mother was for him. That was the worst night of my life. I don't think I slept a wink that night, because I literally just cried myself to the point where I was whimpering and I couldn't see out of my eyes. But you don't cry yourself to sleep, because there is no sleeping for you that night. Now, he's a man in jail. He's a man in jail who has to worry about what he looks like to other people. And thank God, in the prison where they are, they're a little bit better. It's more of a long-term stay prison. It's not like jail where they're in and out. But if he needs to cry, I'm sure he cried. But imagine now you're worried about being judged for your emotions and crying and appearing weak in jail, but you just lost your whole family. Oh, my thoughts and my prayers and my condolences go out to that man. And I never want to have to make a video like this again, because one of us decided to drive in unsafe conditions, in an unsafe way, or push through something like being tired driving and falling asleep at the wheel, or God forbid, impaired driving. Guys, it's not worth it. Don't put yourself at risk. So you guys keep staying strong, keep loving strong, keep supporting one another through this journey, because you're one day closer to it all being behind you. So much love from my heart to all of yours. I will see you, beautiful ladies and gentlemen, in the next one. But in the meantime, make sure that you hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video. And if you want, ding that little notification bell below so you get either a push notification or an email, depending on how you set it up, as soon as I post a video. Because honestly, I don't want you to miss anything. These videos are so important for you guys. And then also, if you can like this video, I would appreciate it so much. It's a free way that you can show YouTube that you appreciate my content, and we can get it in front of those eyes of people who need to see it the most, people who are going through this alone and they're scared, just like you were one day. So if you could just hit that like button, that little thumbs up below, and then let me know in the comments what you think, your thoughts, some condolences for this guy that I'll pass along to Adam to give to him, and any other questions, comments, concerns, or topics that you want me to talk about on a future video. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one.